Hey, I'm Bob.
And I'm Rosie, and we are brand new campers. Well, actually, not brand new. We did have a pop-up back in the 80s, I guess, but we now have a brand new 2020 Rockwood Mini Lite. It's a model 2104S, and we just got back from our first trip out in it for the weekend, and we had a great time. So this is the first of what we hope to be many future video blogs, and right now we're not trying to impress anybody with our knowledge. It's just for entertainment, because I'm sure it's going to be funny, and we just want to share our adventures with you, some of the things that we've learned. You'll probably laugh at them because you may have done the same things, and help maybe some other newbies and provide some, like I said, some entertainment for some of you that have been doing this for a long time. I did want to say that we've named our camper Parker because, number one, when we get where we're going, we have to park her. And because the nice young man who sold her to us, his name was Parker. So it's kind of a tribute to him as well. Now, as far as our blog, we don't have a name for it yet, but we're sure some of you out there could probably come up with something for us. So we've had a few suggestions, nothing really that has felt just right, but hey, we're open. So please comment and give us your suggestions. So to start off, we're just going to talk about some of the things that we learned on this trip purely through experience. So the first thing that happened when we got there was we got checked in, and someone drove us to our campsite.
We were at a state park in Louisiana that we went to. Real nice state park.
We were at Poverty Point State Park in Delhi, Louisiana. And so tell them about the campground and what we discovered first off.
Well, the one thing that we discovered after we got there and we backed the camper in and got everything set up, that basically the front of the camper was facing west. The sun was setting and it was hot, and as we were setting up and everything. So we pretty much discovered that when we're looking for campsites, that you might want to, it's totally your preference. For us, we would probably prefer that in the afternoon, as the sun is setting, that it's behind us and we're in the shade in the afternoon. We could deal with the sun in the morning, but when
it's not so hot.
Yeah, when it's not so hot. But you get on up in the afternoon, it starts getting hot. When the sun gets behind you, it is a little cooler. So the one thing that we learned is that as you're getting ready to plan your trip, wherever you're going, whatever campsite you're going to be staying at, you might want to look at your campsites. Use, I'm a big map guy, so I use Google Earth a lot. And so, you can look on the map and you can see as you're picking out what campsites you want, what way it's facing, which ways the sun's going to be coming up, coming down, going down. And that might help you make a decision about which campsite that you want to park at. Now, that just not all will go into what you decide about the place you want to park. You may have small kids, and you might want to be next to the playground, or if the campsite has a swimming pool or something, you might want to be close to that, or close to the lake, or is this car, whatever your preference is. But just a little hint is that if you want the sun, whatever your preference is for the sun, then you might just want to check out which way the sun's setting, or and rising in the mornings compared to where you're parking your camper.
One thing that I learned, and I didn't learn this until the second day, we checked in, set up on Friday afternoon, and on Saturday evening I fixed a pretty good sized meal, and I was cleaning one of the pots, and like I always do at home, I was just running the water. And all of a sudden I heard an unusual noise coming from the bathroom, and I looked, and there was gray water. Thank goodness it wasn't black water, but there was gray water. The stuff that was going down the sink drain was coming up through the shower drain. So I ran outside and found Bob and said, "Shut off the gray, or open up the gray water." And he looked at me like, "What?" And I said, "Open up the gray water." And so as soon as he did, the water went down and everything was cool again. But we learned, or I learned the hard way, that I can't run the water the same way I do at the house. So I'm a big Googler too. Anything I want to know, I look it up, and I've joined several Facebook groups that have to do with camping, and one of the groups is specifically for Rockwood mini lights, and so I asked about why this happened, because I had read that, you know, we were probably good for 2 or 3 days. And I got lots of answers, but a couple of different answers were, well, you need to take Navy showers, and I didn't know what a Navy shower was. I was almost afraid to ask. But it basically means you get under the shower, you get real wet, and you cut your shower off, you lather up, and then you turn your shower back on and you rinse off. And so that, plus learning to cut down on my water consumption when I'm washing dishes. Several good suggestions had been made. Use a dish pan, but you can't just pour that water out on the ground. You're not allowed to do that. Not run the water when you're rinsing the dishes. Just run a pan of soapy water, rinse them, and then, or put them on the other side. We have a double sink. Put them on the other side, and then when you get them all washed, then run the water to rinse them off. So that's a learning process for me. Thank goodness it wasn't a disaster. It was really funny, but and thank goodness Bob was there to go quickly open up that valve.
And something that I didn't think about later, we got there Friday night, and I didn't hook up the sewer line Friday night. I waited to mid-morning Saturday to hook it up, and probably a good idea is to go ahead and hook it up the day that you get there. We were thinking that, okay, we're not going to be using a lot of water or the toilet or something like that, and we didn't think that it was necessary to hook it up. But you know, if I had not had it hooked up when this started happening, we would have really had a disaster. I think I probably just, I don't know, I might have opened up the tank and let some of the water out on the ground just to get it down enough to get the sewer line hooked up. But it's probably just a good idea to go ahead and hook up the sewer line when you first get there. And speaking of that, we found out today as we were packing up and getting ready to leave, you know, I had looked at many videos on YouTube and stuff like that, you know, that's the last thing you do is flush your black water tank and flush your gray water tank. That's the last thing you do before you leave. And so that's what we did today. And we found out, you know, that or we remembered that it was a good idea that we always fill your toilet up with water, put your disinfectant in there. This is after you flushed your tank, and flush that into your tank and leave it there. That way it sloshes around, keeps your tank fresh. You don't your trailer don't smell from the toilet. And what we found out is that after when I was getting ready to rinse out drain the black water tank and everything, I went ahead and disconnected the fresh water. Didn't think we needed it anymore. And then when Rosie went back in to fill the toilet up with the water, she says, you know, we got to think we had to hook the water back up now because we need water. We could have got a bucket probably and carried a bucket in there and done that, but it was just easier to just go ahead.
We didn't have a bucket.
We didn't have a bucket?
No, we didn't have a bucket. That needs to go on our list.
Yeah, we need to put that on our bucket list.
A collapsible bucket on our bucket list.
Yeah, on our bucket list. There you go. But anyway, just keep your fresh water hooked up, and after you flush your black water tank, you know, a few times, and go ahead and want to put your sanitizer into the toilet, then run your water, do that, and after you do that, then you can disconnect your freshwater hose and go ahead and roll it up and store it.
The last thing, while he was doing the very last things, I got too hot and I had to get back in the car with the AC running. But the last thing I said to him was, be sure and check everything. Make sure everything's locked up. And check the lug nuts again, please. So he did one really good last walk around. He checked his hitch and double checked it because that's a big concern to me. And made sure all of the outside storage bins were locked, made sure the door was locked, the antenna was, all those things that I had done inside, he wanted to make sure that affected the outside. He wanted to make sure that they were all secured properly. And once that was done, we were ready to roll.
Yeah.
The one thing I didn't mention, Bob can elaborate on this, is what we're towing our camper with. So tell them about your truck.
And I just wanted to say one thing about the walk around. As I was walking around today, the camper, just before we left, I'm glad I did it because the pair of gloves that I was using to hook up the hitch and everything like that, I laid on top of the propane tank. And as the very last thing that I happened to notice was my gloves. If I had not done the walk around, just got in the truck and drove off, well, my gloves had been sitting on the side of the road somewhere.
I saw him there, but he was behind the trailer, and I thought, he'll find them, and he did.
But I'm towing the camper with a 2018 GMC Canyon. The towing capacity on the truck says 7,000 pounds. And our camper weighs right around 4,800 pounds, right around in there somewhere. And so we figured up today with all the supplies and stuff that we were carrying in our truck and in our camper and everything, that we were probably total weight between the camper and the truck was probably somewhere around 10,500 pounds. Now, according to our book in my truck, it says that I'm allowed up to 12,000 pounds. And I think that the truck handled the camper well. There were some times, like when you were going up a hill or something, that
I'm sorry, I distracted you.
You turned the page on me. But I mean, I guess what I want to say about that is that when we were shopping for this camper, we really had in mind about what the amount of weight that my truck was going to be able to handle. And I think we hit it pretty close, right where we needed to be with this camper. Do I think that maybe I might need a bigger truck, a more powerful truck, a better pulling truck? Maybe. I don't know. I think it's going to take a few more trips in my Canyon to see exactly how well it's going to do. I'm still new at pulling a camper this size. Like she said earlier, we did have a pop-up earlier. Well, if any of you has ever pulled a pop-up, that's just like pulling a utility trailer. It's just don't feel like there's ever anything back there. And this is different from that. So it's going to take us a few more trips for me to really make my mind up about that. So
we had a good time. We did a lot of laughing. We relaxed. We just got away. We have 3 dogs, and we only brought one of them with us, and she was a little leery of it at first, but I think she started to loosen up. And I guess the one thing we laughed about the most is Bob and his head banging. The slide, the ceiling of the slide, which the slide is our U-shaped dinette, is a little low. And every time he would lean over to get something off the table or to do whatever, he would bang his head. And I told him I was going to put pool noodles across the front of it to make a bumper pad for it, but that would look kind of yucky, so I'm really not going to do that. I probably just will maybe make him a hat made out of pool noodles. How about that? Anyway, we had a great time. We're going to do it again just as soon as we can and as often as we can, and hopefully we'll be able to keep this blog going and create our YouTube channel. So in the meantime, y'all just pray for us and send us your comments about what you think we should call our blog. And anything else, Bob?
No, I can't think of anything else.
Okay.
All right. Well,
until we see you again.
bye.
Bye.